But I get, I'll go ahead and we're at 3 after, or 2. I got 1 after. So let me share my screen here. And I kind of got a little bit of a game plan for this. Not really, if it's just us 3, then we can we can move into one of your courses, or and we can kind of look at custom tailor the what you need, what do you like to get out of this, if it's just us. So and there's Sarah. So we can kind of just go from there.
Thank you.
Are you seeing my PowerPoint here?
I am. I'm trying to mute our side just because we're in this room. I can't get to there it is.
Okay. So yeah, I'll kind of be going back and forth between the PowerPoint and trying to show you what my course is, how it applies there. But so just so you know, we're kind of all just so we're on the same page. This we're recording this, so it's going to go on the YouTube channel a little bit later. If anyone who couldn't make it. So as far as before we get into the LMS, I mean, there's some things that the faculty would need to be familiar with, such as the delivery method of the course, whether that's the blended or fully online or seated. We're pushing all 3 of them pretty hard. And so blended class was generally be defined as 0 to 49% capacity in person seated. So it's good to know the expectations of the LMS sort of change as that modality changes. So it can be adapted to that. So are you working from a pre-built class or building from scratch? This is if you have a master such as biology or computer science, you may be working from something that you can import, or if in some cases we're building a brand new class and we have to start over. So just knowing when you're coming from there. There is an app for iPhone and Android. It's actually called Open LMS, not my courses. It's fairly well coded. It's a good app. We don't recommend that as the primary method of submitting assignments or taking quizzes, but it could work in a pinch. A little bit about the census activity. So this is baked into every course from the very beginning. There are 2 modules that every instructor is going to see: the course home and the getting started. The module. This will be the table of contents on the left. I'll get into that just a little bit. The syllabus quiz is essentially just required to show documentation that proves the student has done some type of activity and confirm their attendance in the class. This is generally due by the census date, which is typically around the first 2 weeks of the semester, showing that the student has shown up and done something. So just a quick about navigating within your course. I'll get into this and then I'll go into my courses itself. The course card is a direct link into the course. So, and I'll show you. Give me just a second. I'm going to switch screens. Sorry about that. I've got too many monitors in front of you. Okay. Are we seeing my courses in front of us now?
We can.
Okay, good. So as I was saying, this is basically the table of contents that we're working on the left. We refer to these as modules. And it's just a way of organizing weeks or the topics, or however you want to see that. It's just good to be as clear as you can about what you're communicating in this part. Particularly just in the syntax that you use. So, for example, we try to avoid using any kind of symbols like a @ sign or any kind of special characters in this section, because sometimes the web browser interprets that as computer code. And well, in some cases we've had it break the modules where the instructor can't get in there anymore. So just kind of keep this as simple and straightforward as you can, as far as if you go to add a new topic, for example, you type that in here to the title, create a quick description, and then just create section, and it's a fairly self-evident process. As far as the module itself, we'll see we're in you see the orange bar here. That's the course home. That indicates which module we are in. You can add all the stuff that's above this. Edit summary is where you can edit. You can add an image. You can create a description of it, and you can save changes. If you look over here at restrict statuses, I'll get that into that just a little bit. That's kind of a neat feature. But as far as the module itself, let me back up. So I was going to show you the course cards, and I got ahead of myself. I'm sorry. So so I'm signed into the LMS, and I hit my courses. So you see here, this course card, as I was saying earlier, this is a direct link into your course. And there's going to be a picture. Generally, it's just a blue gradient, but then there's going to be an instructor photo, the title of the course, and then the students will see their course grade in this. If you've set the assignments to have a due date and an open and close date, they can see their let me go to a tab here. Okay, yeah, see faculty toolkit. It says progress 11 of 13. That means that they have completed 11 out of 13 assignments in that particular course. So it's one of the feature that you can add to that, in addition to the course grade. So if in any case, if there's a missing course that you're not seeing, there's two options that it may have been archived. So we can see the courses from different years. It may be in there, and we just have to move it to the new date, or it could be unpublished. So if you see here, this is my testing shell, and it is not published to students. So if a student's logging into my courses and they don't see it, it's either one of those two things. So you can get that published fairly easily. Any questions so far with course cards? And hopefully that's fairly straight ahead and self-evident.
I think we're okay right now.
We're good.
Okay. All right. Good. So if we climb back into a course, I'll just go into the sample where we were. So we're talking a little bit about the syllabus quiz and these two modules that are baked into every course. Beyond that, we can start looking at some of the features of this page, where there's going to be a running tab of deadlines and calendar events. So when you create assignments or discussion forums or whatever it might be, there's going to be based on those due dates, the students will be able to see those on their calendar, and you'll need to make sure you select that when the assignment is going to be available, when it closes, and when the assignment's actually due. Those all affect how the student sees that on their calendar. So if you can see this, there's nothing here, but all the due dates will show up here for their assignments. And this is equally useful for instructors too, because it will not only let the students know when things are due, but it'll also say, it'll also tell you when things need to be graded. So if you have assignments that you haven't quite gotten to yet, that's where they'll show up. So keep an eye on that deadlines not sure what you'll call it, a ticker, but it does stay updated. It's dynamic as the weeks pass and due dates come up. So we have some options here at the top. We have, this is a profile. So if a student in maybe some case, the student hasn't taken their solo test yet, which stands for Student Online Orientation. It's just a quiz that gets them familiar with the LMS, kind of what we're doing here. And they actually get a badge from completing that. And that badge will show up here on their profile. And so I've uploaded a picture, and that's generally the only two things you have to really do to finish solo. The switch role to, this is a really handy feature. And I think this is brand new. We just upgraded to a new version of Moodle, Moodle 4.0. It was a major upgrade. But it added these options here at the blue banner. So you may want to check out and see if you have those. I'm pretty sure you will, but you have some kind of shortcuts here. If you want to switch your role and you want to see, say, you want to see exactly what the student says, you can see, you can click that switch role to and then go to student. And so when they sign into your course, they're going to see, say, if something is hidden, or if there's some kind of restriction on an activity or a module, it's going to show up. It's going to be hidden. So based on what you tell it, and then you can just click return to my normal role, and that will send you back to instructor mode. So that's really the design, the user interface that we're dealing with. I think a lot of it is self-evident, but if you in your course card, if you hit this star right here, that's going to help you. That's going to favorite that course. So it's always going to be at the top. So if you have one of those courses that's just it's just high maintenance that you always need to get to and have to really babysit, you probably want to click that star to make sure that, hey, I'm not going to have to search around for it. So we'll get back into the course model. So the design hasn't changed really all that much. So we still have this banner at the top, which stays pretty much the same all through every course, through every page. The administration that we do when we need to go through there, and the more you use this, the more you'll be familiar with the options in here. There's a lot, but once you find out the things that are critical for your setup, the settings, we really don't need to do much in there. It's things like the course start date and the course picture. We don't need to really push anything in there. But if you want to find just an enrolled list of users, you can go down to users and enrolled users, and that's going to give you an instant look at your enrollment, when they last signed in, and whether they're active in the course. So if you have someone who's falling behind, if you haven't heard from them, check that users tab first, and it'll tell you exactly when they have last signed in. So it's a really good reporting tool that doesn't really doesn't shine the light on them. It's just, you can kind of look for them there. Again, a lot of options here. We're not going to use them all, but I'm going to focus on the users and the gradebook setup, the question bank, and we've already talked about the switch role. So I'm going to go ahead and go into if there are no questions about that course administration, we can go on. Okay, hopefully that's fairly simple. A gradebook setup. Now here we are. It functions, I mean, as you think a gradebook should. I mean, the point is to enter and calculate and share the grades with the students, and this is how they get their grades. But the setting up of the gradebook is very important. And it may sound really obvious, but it's really important that you align the weighting of the gradebook with the syllabus. So if you were to update your syllabus, which I'm hoping you will every semester, that the weights that you have, assignments, quizzes, final exams, whatever it might be, that those are reflected in the grade book, because that's really, as far as troubleshooting, if there's a grade or indiscrepancy, or if something's not calculating correctly, this is the first place we're going to go. They'll say, well, how is your grade book? How's the math working? So, and that works several ways. You can either enter the grades manually, or you can have them calculated by an assignment that you add. So, for example, if you build a quiz within my courses, and you set the score and the values, then it's my courses, when they take that quiz, it'll do the math for you, and we won't have to really do much else. But if you have something that's, say, that you can't really put in my courses, like some kind of active participant, if there's some kind of field work that they have to do that's not really generated through an assignment, you can add the grade item manually to that. But the most important part is adding the category. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So at this point, you can add the category name, and I'll just call it assignments. And let's say in this situation, assignments are worth 10%. Now, I'm going to label this as assignments 10%. That doesn't actually change. That doesn't do any of the math. That's just a courtesy for the students to let them know when they see their grade book that assignments will be 10%. So you can select a value and maximum grade, and you have options here. This should pretty much stay. It's going to be shown the whole course. And so you can say weight adjusted, and you can say 10% here. And saved. And if there are any of these, there's a lot of options in this screen. So such as exclude empty grades and things you may or may not use. But if there's ever a question over here on the right hand, and generally if it's going to be to the right of an option or some kind of a drop down, you can always hit that question mark, and it'll explain to you what the aggregation means. What are the options available to you? Mean of grades, median grades, lowest grade, and each of those correspond to this weight, or I'm sorry, to this list.
Jamie, is that when you can do, like, if they do a makeup test and you have 2 scores in there, then you can tell to either you could drop the lowest grade. Is that what you're meaning? Okay.
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can set that on the assignment level too.
Okay.
To drop the lowest one. Absolutely, that's a good question. So again, a lot of options here. Generally, you wouldn't need to. Well, in your case, Michelle, you would actually show more, and you could keep the highest and drop the lowest here. It's an option.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So we've got this kind of set up how we need. I'm not going to save changes because this is a kind of a sample course model that already has grades, but you would just save that. Let me give you an example. There's actually no categories in this one. Let's see if we can get into gradebook setup. Okay, not there either. So the categories would show up in the gradebook setup. And this is a little different. We're kind of looking at Moodle 4.0 now. So now everything's in a drop-down. Okay, so this is all kind of new to me too. I think this is the first day that we're actually using this new version of Moodle. So I'm kind of learning as I go as well. So it's kind of neat. Any questions on the gradebook setup?
No, I'm glad that you mentioned it had upgraded, because I was thinking it looked a little different than what I was using with the pharmacy one.
Absolutely, and I've been in it most of the morning, and there's still just a lot of things that I'm finding.
Okay. Well, that's good to see it.
All the tools are there. They just look a little different.
Okay.
So there's the weighted categories as part of the assignment function. And again, when you create assignments or quizzes, you set the weight, that those grades are calculated automatically. Talk just a little bit about accessibility. It's a pretty vast topic. I don't really think we can solve much here, but just in terms of how if you create a document through such as a PDF or or a Word document and you upload it, there's going to be a score that each document will get in terms of how a web browser can read the accessibility of it. So if we have something like this, you'll see this little speedometer there. So that's the accessibility score, and its reading is perfect. So I'll just click on this. What it'll do, it'll slide out this menu from the right, and it's going to show you all the things that it looks for in the page, such as, this image has a description. Okay, it says it's a syllabus banner with images of syllabi. So that's what you'll call an alternate text. So all the images that we create would need to have that in mind. So basically, if you upload something and that speedometer turns orange or red, just send us the document. Send me the document, and I can put it through an accessibility checker and just see kind of where it is. Generally, it's three things. The PDF isn't tagged properly. The images are missing alt text, or the headings are in the wrong order. So it's just a matter of how the document was designed, and so this is a kind of a neat tool because it does. I see screen readers a lot, a lot of accessibility tools that students use, even if they don't work with the Office of Disability. Sometimes they just use a screen reader for help, and we want to make sure our documents are compatible with that. So the LI score, just keep an eye on that. When you upload a document to my courses, it should show up after you refresh the page. Just got a couple more things to go over here. I just wanted to talk about a little bit about the completion tracking and restricted access. That is, and what that translates as is, if you are on week 1 and you want the students to stay with you the whole time, you want them to not be able to work ahead in your course, you have that option, and you have several ways of doing that. I'm going to climb into the resource guide. And so this is achieved through the module, the table of contents list here on the left. So I'll go to a module. And in with that module, I'll edit summary for this topic. Okay, where I was earlier, this is where we say restricted access over here on the right. This is kind of a neat tool because you do have several options as to how you customize it. So these first 3 are pretty much going to be all the ones that you use. The date will prevent access until a certain time. So say if you have this module is only restricted to the weeks, you can set that date. If you have an activity or a test that a student has to take, or they have to achieve a certain grade, you can say, well, you can't move on to this next module until you get this grade. So really, those two are pretty much going to be the 2 that you use the most. There was one called activity completion, and I think they've taken that away. But basically,
they must have, because it's not. I didn't see it show up.
Yeah, I was thinking that might be another thing that's different in 4.0 as of today. But so I think you can tie the grade to an activity as well, and just say, is this completed? And then you can move on. But you got some customization there. Is there are there any questions about anything that I've mentioned so far?
I don't do. No, we're good.
Okay. So the last thing I was really going to get to is the discussion forums and adding activities. You're probably familiar with how to add activities and those various things. As you know, I don't know if you've used open forums in the past. It is going away. I think we're working on hiding. So you see the option here. So this tool is being blown away by OpenLMS. It's not going to be used anymore. So if you add a discussion forum to this, you'll need to use the regular forum. So not open forum, but open. Excuse me, not open forum, just regular. So This just a heads up. It's going to be, after a while, we're not even going to have the options for it. But if you decide to do anything this semester, just choose the regular one. So you had a lot of options here. I think if this really depends on the nature, if it's just a meet and greet kind of a situation, or if this is a question and answer kind of thing. I think you can see just adapt this to however you think you would need it. And again, look at the question mark. It gives a really good explanation as to, okay, here's the nature of this. Here's how this tool behaves, and here's how I need to use it. So you can kind of compare your usage. And there's just no one size fits all to this. It can get wily when you just put up a general forum, and anyone can create a topic, anyone can reply to someone else. It's if you're using something where stakes where you have to grade it, it can get kind of chaotic. So just kind of pick the one that if you're going to go that way, that is good, best for your class. So that's there's a lot of options here. You want to make sure that it's visible to the students. They can attach documents to this, and if you're requiring a certain word count, you can choose that here. Subscriptions, that's when they basically get notified in their email that someone has replied to their content. And you can actually force subscribe where everyone's involved all the time. Again, just kind of go through these options and see. I think they're fairly self-evident. If there's any questions though, if it's not behaving like it is in your mind, just reach out. We can look at these settings with you. We try not to overload you with every single option, because we would be here until midnight. Just so you know, it's if you do things just the standard way, and if you just create an activity with the default settings, I think and a lot of times you'll be okay, and your students will see what they need to see. I don't have much else for this. The biggest thing is with assignments and forums are the due dates, and just make sure that you have enabled when it's available, when it is due, and when it closes, and when you should grade it by. So those 4 things, so that the students see it in the calendar, you're reminded when to grade it, and it shows up in the gradebook properly.
Okay. So how do you, if for some reason a student is late getting it in and it closes out, is there a way to go back in and open it back up like we've done in the past for like 24 hours or?
Yeah, that's in the availability dates. So if you were to add a new assignment, that's going to be right over here. So I just added a new assignment. So from the correct module, you would add an activity assignment, and then over here on the right hand side, that's when you can enable that again and select the dates there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And there's these options are fairly important too, especially if you're asking someone to submit a report or some kind of a document to restrict what they can submit. Such, for example, PDFs, docs, rich text files, those kind of things. I would keep it simple so that I think most people would know, that if you type into a Word document, it's going to save it as a certain format, but you can still create a PDF from that. So maybe just get everyone on board about how they're going to be submitting things.
Okay, nothing too big.
No, PDF files really are the best, I think, in every situation, because it adds a lot of flexibility for you when you're grading them, and it doesn't require any other software. Web browsers handle PDFs really well, and there's not a lot of confusion when it comes to a computer, or if it's a Chromebook or that doesn't have Microsoft Word, or I think there's a lot of reasons to go with PDF. Not to mention the accessibility side of it. It's really robust. And one thing that we've been doing in teaching and learning is creating fillable PDFs, so that I've always basically going into InDesign and making a worksheet out to where there are text fields, and then you can upload that as a PDF, and then all the student has to do is click the assignment. They can type directly into their web browser, type the answer, and download it, and then submit it back. So there's really no other software involved. I mean, they can do it right on in just a new tab of their web browser. So, if that's an option, send me some ideas. And I mean, I'm getting a little faster at designing those kind of worksheets. So, it's kind of it's a soft launch this semester. I'm trying a few classes, trying that out. So, but I can see that working pretty well. So if I'm happy to answer any other questions, just hit me with what you got. Anything I can help with, or anything you've always been curious about within my courses?
I don't have anything. Do you have?
I'm just learning pretty much a little bit of everything because I haven't done a lot of online teaching. So just trying to pick up as much as I can. Sure.
Yeah. And in terms of online teaching, I mean, really what is required is a syllabus and a census activity for my courses. I mean, that's really anything else that you do is if for a seated class, I mean, it would just be a courtesy to your students knowing that they can log in and see a document or notes or a study guide or something to that effect. So it's just best practices. I mean, I think if you have a seated class, fully seated, then you kind of determine your own level of involvement there. Sorry about that. I will, if you just reach out, if you want to pursue that, any idea of a fillable PDF, or if you have some activities you want to create, just reach out, and we can help make that happen.
One question I just thought of, Jamie. Can I go back and look at the pharmacy class that's finished and completed? Will it show the updates on it, or is it going to show all the old stuff? It won't show any of the new. Just so I could go in and just click and look at stuff and figure out the new, the upgrades that you did.
Yeah, the upgrade was system wide, so every course should have the new layout.
Okay, because that would help a little bit too when we start this next class.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good thing about this update was it wasn't all done overnight. I mean,
okay.
I was talking with Leah, and we had actually, I think it was 5 different chunks of update, and so we put some in here, we tested it out, put some in here, and it was a very gradual thing. So I think that worked in our favor quite a bit, to where we launched this morning. We didn't have any fires.
Okay,
well,
perfect.
we didn't have
I'll
many
go and
fires.
play with that then, and if I have any questions, I'll get back with you.
Sure. Yeah, and feel free to reach out to Sarah or Kevin or I. We each have a little different skill set. I think we could work together and make a solution happen for whatever you need.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. It was good meeting you, Michelle. Heather, good to see you.
Jamie.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.